Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Glasgow's low emission zone was a joke from the start. It's an absolute travesty. It doesn't need to be there. Glasgow's got some of the cleanest air in the country, and indeed the only area of Glasgow that can be even said to have dirty air, and still below the government's figures of what constitutes dirty air, is the bus station. The irony of that, I think, is completely lost on the council. And so, of course, they've brought this in, not because they want clean air, because you could drive a 6.3 litre Merc if it's nice and new, throw it through the city, but a 1.1 Corsa that happened to be a day too old wouldn't. It's a tax, really, on poor people. They're the ones least able to upgrade their cars. And, of course, talking of upgrading cars, the council themselves are having to upgrade loads of vehicles, some of them very expensive vehicles, because they are too old and they don't meet the criteria for the low emission zone. It's an absolute waste of millions of pounds of money when they're already nearly $1 billion in the red. They've got a black hole in the accounts that they need to fill by raising taxes and, of course, the fines from this low emission zone, which is going to be a bit awkward if they lose their court case coming up, in which case all the fines they've received will have to be repaid. It's going to cost them a lot of money. But I'm afraid the stupidity doesn't end there. We're going to take a look here to see where the stupidity continues. And honestly, you couldn't make it up. Here it goes. So, shambolic Glasgow low emission zone leads to council fining dozens of its own staff for breaking the rules. You'd think the council staff would understand this, would understand how it works, considering they're the ones implementing and running it. But alas not. And it goes to show, I think, the sort of level of education it takes to work for the council. How can you be so stupid as to implement a low emission zone and then get caught in it in your own car? Surely as the people running this, you would know. But it is absolutely a shambles. Anyway, the SNP-led local authority became the first region in Scotland to launch the zone, which bans certain vehicles, and by that it means poor people's vehicles, from the city centre if they are polluting. No, not if they're polluting, just if they're old. There's a difference. It's banning them on age, not emissions. The SNP-run Glasgow City Council has faced a further low-emission zone embarrassment, as it was revealed that dozens of their own staff have been fined for falling foul of the regulations. The local authority became the first in Scotland to ban, and it says certain polluting vehicles, and it doesn't mean that. It means old vehicles from the city centre. But officials were not even fully ready for the restrictions, as hundreds of their fleet was subsequently not allowed to enter various parts of the city. It means more than £200,000 of public cash has been spent by the cash-strapped council on hiring vehicles to do these tasks, and that will rise if they're going to continue hiring them. And you say, oh, well, why don't they buy one? Well, you go and buy a bin lorry. They're about £400,000, between £300,000 and £400,000 each. But then it's going to be in the long run, it's got to be cheaper than renting it, surely. Anyway, it's also splashing out thousands on upgrading some of its own motors to make them LEZ compliant. And I have to say LEZ, I can't say the LEZ as a single word, and I can't write it, funnily enough. That's why I have to be very careful when I'm writing in the thumbnails and the descriptions, because it takes LEZ as a derogatory term for a certain group of individuals. You know what I'm talking about. But apparently, YouTube treats that as a bit of a derogatory term. It doesn't like it. So I have to say it out loud in the long form sometimes. Anyway, LBC has reported that non-compliant council vehicles are still being caught in the zone, with members being forced to fork out to their employers. In other words, council staff could be driving a council vehicle. So it could be like, let's say, a bin lorry or something. But the driver's liable. It's not the lorry that you don't find the lorry. You find the driver. It's weird, isn't it? A Freedom of Information request showed that 27 workers had been snared since the LEZ started on June the 1st. I think I said it started in July. I don't know why I said that. I knew it started in June. Because it started in June, but the fines didn't come in until July. That was it, yeah. But the majority of these breaches came after almost 2 months into it, starting after July the 27th. That's right, the first month it was just you got a warning. It was the second month the fine started. That's it. Anyway, penalty charges were issued in each of the offences, and the hard-pressed council worker had to pay them. And this suggests that they have mistakenly drove into the LEZ when they weren't required to, or presumed that all vehicles would meet their own city centre emission standards. In other words, all the vehicles owned by the council would have met them, they thought, mistakenly. And then, of course, then they're driving these council vehicles, and then they have to fork out for it. You'd think the council would cover it. I'm not saying the council should cover it, that's an entirely different thing. But you'd think that they would cover it if you're in a vehicle and you've been instructed to go in. Who knows? Or you just hand it to your boss and say, you told me to go there, boss, you pay for it. Anyway, the Scottish Conservative Shadow Transport Minister Graham Simpson, and that is he, said the fact that Glasgow Council's own vehicles still don't comply with their own LEZ rules tells you all you need to know about how badly they've mishandled the introduction of this scheme. A scheme which really shouldn't exist, shouldn't be there. It's unnecessary, it's unrequired. It wasn't done for clean air. That's what they're telling you, but that's quite clearly a lie, because Glasgow's got really clean air. It's money. Of course it is. It's the crisp folding stuff. Could have got a better dated picture. Rather dates it showing the wee poppy on his lapel there. You know, don't they take... Is that the only picture they could get? It's all right, another month or so, fine. But yeah. Anyway, a council spokesman said Glasgow's low emission zone is an essential measure to protect public health by reducing stubbornly high levels of harmful air pollution in our city centre. And we all know that that is bullshit. You know, Glasgow has got clean air. You don't need it. Indeed, that is what that court case is about. The guy is taking the council to court because it isn't a low emission zone. Firstly, it isn't a low emission zone. It's an old car zone. Secondly, it is. They say to clean the air, but Glasgow's already got clean air. Thirdly, it hasn't been. There was no consultation on it. And people are losing business, and this was what this guy's taken them to court for. He wants his money because of the lost business, and he's saying that they've brought this in under one thing, but it isn't, and it's merely a money-making exercise. And if that's the case, then they have quite clearly lied to people. And indeed, the irony is that ever since it's been brought in, the air quality in Glasgow has got worse. They bring in a low emission zone to make Glasgow cleaner air. And as soon as they bring it in, the air quality goes down. You couldn't make it up. Anyway, since the introduction of Glasgow's low emission zone several months ago, a number of non-compliant council vehicles have been subject to penalty charge notices. Measures to mitigate such occurrences are in place, and drivers have been reminded of the scheme's requirement as necessary. But this is it. If you, like I say, you could be in a van, council van, you go and pick up stuff, you've gone in, and you know, I as the council worker say, well, no, you put me there. You go to your boss and say, you told me to go there. You instructed me to do this. I was operating under your instructions. You're liable for this. Fine. Or what you say is, if you're the driver, well, I'm not going in. I'm not going in that van. That van is non-compliant. And they tell you to go in. You say, no. What are they going to do? They can't force you to break the rules, can they? That'd be quite wrong. You know, morons, stop employing morons. Stop voting morons into office. Anyway, the low emission zone has proven to be one of the most contentious and unpopular policies ever to take hold in Scotland. Many businesses throughout the city have complained about the huge drop in footfall, as those from outside the city centre have avoided coming in and potentially getting fined, and that's going to happen while it happens. Now, what I think you need in Glasgow is what they have in London. Those brave men who go around, and ladies, who go around and do the public good. The Blade Runners. They cut the cameras down. They damage the cameras. They blind them. And it's working. And Sadiq Khan keeps saying, I'm going to keep replacing these. And he can't keep replacing them. He hasn't got, A, the budget, and B, the time. He'll soon be gone. And the next one that comes in, I can't remember her name, the lady, Hall, is it? She says the day one, first thing she's doing is rescinding the extended low emission zone. She said it has been a success in the centre of London, where they use emissions, not age of cars, it must be said, but there was no need to extend it. And she says it's quite clearly nothing to do with air quality and everything to do with road pricing. So she says her first day one priority when she comes in is to take all the cameras down. Meanwhile, the Blade Runners are going around and they're just hacking these poles down. You see it all the time. And it's fantastic. And that's what you need in Glasgow. You need your Blade Runners to go and set up a Glasgow chapter of Britain's Blade Runners. And good on them. God help them. Anyway, it is also the subject, going back to the low emission zone in Glasgow, it is also, I keep doing tangents and I do apologise, it's also a subject of future court cases amid claims that it is unlawful, and I've covered this. A judicial review has been launched against Glasgow City Council amid a complaint that the initial pilot period of the zone, where buses were banned, had already proved effective, and it did not need to be extended to include cars, because it was the buses that were the polluters. And this was the thing, when they banned buses, the air quality went boom, fantastic. Not at any point was it above the legal limit, but everything was down. No, I would suggest that you just simply say, does your car have an MOT? Yes, it meets emission standards, done. And that's it. You know, if your car passes the MOT, it's meeting emission standards, and that's all you need to have. Anyway, Repair Centre Director William Patton, I don't know how you pronounce it, I think it's Patton, and he's the one doing the court case. We've covered him in the past. He's leading the LEZ fight back and said it was illegal and irrational, he said it. And without the fines, there are no LEZ schemes. And it can be shown that in 2022, the air quality targets were met. They achieved their goals, and therefore this wasn't needed. He's lost money. He's suing for damages. Good luck to him. Let's have the review come the right way and get power back to the people and away from the fascists in City Hall. Incidentally, as an aside, talking of Glasgow Council, I believe 2 Seats has bought her ticket now, and I guarantee it will be more than £1,600 quoted. She will not be staying in a cheap hotel, and she'll need a very, very big bed. So that's going to be an expensive jaunt. Her last one was £7,000. I wouldn't expect to see much change from that this time. So old 2 Seats can sod off to Dubai, where one woman is currently jailed because she was getting strip searched and accidentally touched the female guard, and they've put her in jail. I'm not going to say that I want that to happen to Susan Aitken, but I certainly wouldn't be rushing to send out a lawyer very quickly either. I shall come up. It's a horrible thought though, isn't it? Strip searching Susan Aitken. Ooh. So there you go. Glasgow LEZ, an absolute disgrace. Hopefully soon to be a thing of the past. Hopefully the court case will come the right way, and they'll have to think of another wheeze of strangling the people to get the money out of their pockets. But they won't be able to do it by basically a lying scheme telling you it's all about air quality when the air quality is perfectly fine. Thank you very much. I know they are looking at a congestion charge. And again, that's going to just drive trade from the city centre. It's almost as though they want to give up and make Glasgow a no-go zone and turn it into the third world. It's getting that way already, to be honest, isn't it? But that's all this 16 years of an SNP government and many years of an SNP council. Everything they touch just turns to absolute crap, doesn't it? Anyway, I shall stop there. Thank you very much for watching. Do please hit the subscribe button. It absolutely massively helps the channel. Do please press the like button. The like on the videos is massively helpful also. Till next time, stay safe, stay well, stay out of Glasgow if you happen to be poor, because it will cost you even more. I didn't realise that was going to be a poetic little line. Anyway, bye.